Welcome back for our final segment for today's installment of the Reliability Matters podcast. In case you jumped on a little bit late, I'm Mike Conrad. I'm the host of the Reliability Matters podcast, and I'm interloping into the Global SMT booth. Thanks to Trevor Galbraith for loaning me his studio, and Summer and Jen for pushing all the right buttons at the right time and making this go off as seemingly easy as possible. My guest on this final segment is Jesper Lykke from Viscom.
Thank you.
The CEO of Viscom.
Indeed.
The intergalactic
for Viscom
honcho.
Inc. anyway, yes.
As they say in Spanish, El Jefe. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, the big boss. You're introducing an inspection system here at the show called the IX 7059. Kind of sounds
Correct.
like a BMW.
Yeah. Make it interesting,
There
right?
you go. And you're going to... one of the acronyms that came up is One Next Generation AXI. I don't know what AXI means, so let's start with... Tell me what AXI means, just so I'm there.
Yeah. So AXI is Automated X-ray Inspection. Short and simple.
That was
very
so easy.
simple, right?
I was overthinking that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Automated
X-ray
we
inspection.
try to keep it simple always, but it doesn't always happen.
It doesn't always work. You get people like
exactly.
me that try and make more out of it.
I know,
than
exactly.
possible. Now, that was a good segue because I want to talk about X-ray. I have a theory about X-ray, by the way. When BGAs first came out on the scene, there was really not a lot of need before that for X-ray within our space, because we could basically, with fancy lenses, we could oblique angle viewers, we could look under a part, and the clearances were so large, relatively speaking,
easily done.
We could easily see it, right? Then BGAs come along, and we can maybe see 1 or 2 rows of balls in, and that's it.
That's it.
And suddenly, the makers of X-ray machine went, "Oh, we got something. We got something for you." And I'm absolutely determined to believe that X-ray causes voiding, because we didn't have a void problem before we
exactly.
We didn't
That's all
know we had
X-rays
a void
exactly.
problem, right?
No,
So
I agree totally.
Look what you've done, right? Look what you've done. You were the inconvenient truth. Like,
it's the inventor of the BGA.
You're going to see.
That's what it is.
Exactly. So for my audience that may be a little on the peripheral of electronic assembly, how important, or let me ask this, what role does X-ray inspection play in the reliability of circuit assemblies? What is X-ray looking for that maybe more traditional optical-based systems can't look for?
Sure. I mean, the answer is very obvious, obviously.
You can see through things.
Whatever you can see with your naked eye is optical inspection, and whatever you can see, such as BGAs, where you have hidden solder joints, you need X-ray, and that's the short version. So there are more than just BGAs, of course. There are all kinds of other components that's either shielded or they have other hidden solder joints. So you need some sort of visual on those that, did you do it right? Of course, in your mind, yes, everything was perfect. I did it exactly after the book. But luckily for us, we're not always in that perfect world. There are some factors that will decide whether or not this is good or bad, or if you have some, you already mentioned voids or things like that. That's needed with X-ray. So you have to verify, even with a good process, you have to verify that your process is good at the end, and what your final product, that's the bottom line, of course, your final product needs to be top-notch before you deliver it to a customer. Otherwise, you won't be in business for very long.
Right. From a layman standpoint, I'll consider myself a layman in the X-ray world.
Sure.
There seems to be 2 technologies. One is to get the image with whatever clarity is required, and angles and things like that. The other is to interpret the image. And to me, I mean, there is an obvious magic of X-ray. That's like a superpower, right? To be able to see through things. Right, exactly. But beyond that magic, we've had that magic for more than 100 years. So that part's not new. To me, even more impressive is the ability to discern, to interpret that through imaging. So not always what you're seeing on the screen is literally what the board looks like. It is a computer rendition of what the board looks like. When I remember many years ago, a friend of mine had to get some kind of MRI or something, and it produced an image. This was several years ago. And I saw a copy of the image. Like, it looks like the old days of over-the-air television stations when you weren't tuned to the television station.
Exactly. So what am I looking at again?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it took an MD that was a radiologist with extra years of training just to be able to pick out that slightly darker gray matter from
that nobody else can
no
see,
one else
right?
can see,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
I mean, you can stare at it all day long and you never see it.
Yep.
That's been largely replaced now with computers, and I would assume with the use of artificial intelligence and other
Absolutely,
tech.
yes.
How important is it when you're choosing an X-ray machine to not only look at can it take the picture, but what it does after that?
Yeah.
What are the benchmarks that you would recommend people look for in determining the best machine type, brand, whatever to use?
Yeah. So I mean that's many questions in one, but I'll
I know.
try and
I tend to do
I'll
that.
Try and
yes. And you have 8 seconds to answer it.
Oh,
no,
okay,
no,
there you go.
You're good.
No, of course. I mean, anybody can do take an X-ray image. It is, you already alluded to it. It has to do with resolution. It has to do with speed and flexibility. What can the machine do for you taking those images? The clarity is a main factor, of course. That, and then I would contradict myself a little bit. Clarity is just for the human eye, for the visual purpose of the human eye. We need to understand. That means we need to see it.
Yeah.
But then on to your second question is software. So the software really don't care. I mean, of course, it cares how it looks like, but it doesn't have to be so, let's say, crystal clear as the human eye would like it and the human brain would like it. But in fact, the software, and obviously assisted with AI, will take some of that guesswork from the MD that had 25 years of experience, where he could see this little blob in this image here that nobody else could look at. That's where the AI comes in. That is that 25 years experience, and it will point that out every single time because it's taught that way. So it has to do with...
It's a rule. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Get an image, which anybody can do, and then it comes down to, call it preference and capabilities of the software. What can you do with that image? And it needs to be interpreted with any software, obviously. The clarity is one thing, yes, but you need to look for as you already mentioned as well, voids and things like that. And that's where the software comes in. So you need a machine that has, let's say, a good hardware to get the image, like a camera kind of thing. And then secondly, obviously, you need the software that can interpret that image and spit out as easy as possible, spit out that image and that result of that image to the human interface again, telling them, okay, this is a bad defect or a bad BGA because it has some voice in there, or bridges or whatever, and that's basically what you need at the end.
I know in the earlier days of processing, rendering a discernible image,
sure,
it took time. It could take hours.
Oh yeah,
right. Has that been reduced? I mean, what is it? Where have we gone from, in terms of like a render time, if that's the right term, to where we are today?
Yep.
What's a typical time to produce an actionable image?
I mean, it used to be a coffee break. I'm 23 years with a company right now, so I mean, I saw some of the early days, and that was really start the process of generating a data gen, we refer to it as, so generating the program itself, compiling it, lack of better words. That took started, go for a coffee break, come back, it's still compiling, to now, I mean, we're talking seconds, milliseconds, really. So it's
near instant.
Night and day difference. I mean,
Wow.
obviously the computer power plays a huge role here. In some cases, you even have masters and slaves, so primary and secondary computer. So you have all the computer power you need. So let's say speed in that regards is absolutely no issue anymore. That's a thing from the past.
So AI requires training.
Yes.
I think the word AI is the wrong term. It's nothing artificial about it. I'd like to call it acquired intelligence.
Yep.
Because it's not artificial. It acquired it from humans.
It does what you ask it to.
Published works.
Exactly.
And all
yes.
that does, everything. The problem with software is it does exactly what you tell it to
exactly.
do. Right? Predictably.
Yes.
How are your programs, for example, updated to represent the latest package, the latest problem, the latest known defect? You know, tombstones came up at one point. You know,
sure.
You had to learn.
No, they never existed. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Voiding became a big issue. The volume of voiding has changed from specs. There's been arguments over whether it's 1% or another.
Sure.
One type of percentage or another percentage percentile. That's a defect. All that has to be learned by the machine, so it can flag a defect, right?
Yep.
How does it learn? How does your company continue to teach these machines, and particularly maybe machines that are a few years old that maybe weren't around when whatever came out?
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I mean, we obviously, the obvious question is we always listen to our customers, of course. So whenever, let's say, call it some pioneer customers come to us and say, well, we have this new board, nobody knows it on the market yet, we're trying to inspect it, we need to make sure that this component, these components, brand new components, nobody has seen, we want to introduce that to your machine and then see how can we make sure that after the fact that this is in fact catching the defects. And that's obviously step number one. Listen to your customers and figure out what makes sense.
Yeah.
And then obviously as well that we build up that data and collect images from those, call it studies and pioneer customers. And then we set up rules and AI-generated support to help catching those defects that we have seen, basically. So.
Yeah. Well, very good. Well, that's about all we have time for. I know you want to sit here and stay off your feet for the rest of the afternoon, but we do have to work, right?
I'll hang out for another half hour, yeah, exactly.
Yes, and then it's happy hour somewhere.
Exactly.
Right? So Jesper Lykke from Viscom, CEO of Viscom, thank you very much for being my guest in this abbreviated TAPA-style version of Reliability Matters.
Sure.
For those of you who are watching Reliability Matters live, we'll see you tomorrow. I'll be back as our old former governor used to say. I'll be back. And for those of you who are watching this on the Reliability Matters podcast, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for having me.